Hello and welcome to the Glad You Knew Politics podcast. I'm Reese Ryan, and here with me as usual is Nathan Ang. This episode, we speak to Tatsiana Kulakevich from the University of South Florida, who is an expert on Belarusian politics.
It was an amazing episode, and Tatsiana is truly an incredible person. Coming into this, I really didn't know much at all about what was going on about the protests in Belarus, but in knowing more, Tatsiana really made us care about what is going on, and it helps when she can break down all we need to know about what's going on, from the important role women play, innovations in protesting, and the importance of technology. And me and Reese also work on our Belarusian pronunciation, where Tatsiana gives us a few pointers, and in the end, I know how to say one Belarusian word, and it's niekta. How's that?
Oh, not too bad, Nath. I think you might need to download Belarusian on your Duolingo. I think after this podcast, you will have as much admiration for Tatsiana as we do. So, let's get stuck in with the Glad You Knew Politics podcast. Tatsiana, thank you for being on the Glad You Knew Politics podcast. What was your journey like when you were born in Belarus, and how did you end up in America? It seems an amazing journey that you've been on.
Well, I came to the United States, maybe about 15 years ago. And I always knew that I wanted to become a doctor. You know, I always wanted to become a PhD and work in academia. So my bachelor's is in history. I transferred my credits from Belarus, and I received my bachelor's degree in the United States, in New Jersey, Rider University. Then I got my master's degree from NYU, and I got my doctorate from Rutgers. But switching from history to political science was just a surprising moment, because I just knew a person and he said that I would be good at it. We'll see. I don't know. And I found a job in Florida, University of South Florida, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that big of a jump from history to political science, since it's, you need to know a bit of history to do some politics.
So it's just to kind of, I got I started my master's degree in interdisciplinary studies, and a friend of mine also was at the same department, and one day he says, you know what, I'm going to switch to sociology. And I'm like, can you do that? And at that time I took a class in political science, and I knew a professor who I could ask for advice, and I asked, can I transfer? He said, yeah, you are a good student, you can try, I will support you. So that's how it happened actually. And then I got my master's in international relations, and then it was kind of straightforward.
So was that a massive motivation to study Belarus in particular and the geopolitics surrounding this? Was that what really inspired you to study politics, transitioning out of history?
No, I study Belarus because I am from Belarus. I was born there and I was raised there. And when I came to the United States, I was 20 years old, and I know it, and it's in my heart. I speak the languages. I mean, we have both right now, Russian and Belarusian, and I understand it. So I think it's basically I'm taking advantage of everybody else who knows more, believes that they know more about the region they come from.
Not a chance.
Well, as you're from Belarus, and the reason why we have you on is, can you tell us a little bit about the Belarusian protests? How and why did this happen?
Well, as many people and you guys might know, that Belarus was one of the Soviet Union countries. It became independent after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the first president was elected in 1994, and it was Alexander Lukashenko, who has ruled the country for 26 years. And it's supposed to be on August 9, supposed to be his sixth consecutive election. However, his plan didn't happen. Everything went, sideways. But it started with the coronavirus, actually, as everything else in our lives these days. So coronavirus happened. What happened? He ignored it. He suggested people to drink vodka, go to sauna, play hockey, and I'm not kidding. He said,
was that just an excuse to go to the sauna for you, Tatsiana?
Yeah, I was here at the time, I was teaching. But I go to sauna. So basically, when he was playing hockey, he said, he told, when someone asked him, as far as, I hope I'm not making this up right now. So that, what about the coronavirus? He said, do you see it? Do you see? I don't, So that's basically what happened. And he left people alone. So people were left alone with the virus, and Belarusian people are very educated, and I don't remember the number, but it's around 80%, maybe more, use the internet. So people can go online and see what's going on with the virus. And Belarus was the only country in the regions that did not impose the quarantine. And people started organizing on their own, protecting, sewing masks, creating fundraising campaigns. It was the so-called people's quarantine. So grassroots movements began, and people were organized on the bottom. And when why he did not impose the quarantine? Because the economy was suffering at the time as well. So we already have the coronavirus, economy, and closer to the election, new faces came out who decided to run for presidency. So people started kind of gathering around new faces, and that's how it began. He started removing people, this top faces, who had potential to gather a lot of people around them. He arrested one, then he arrested another one, and then he basically did not count the votes to become the presidential candidate for the third one. And the wife, the lady without any political experience, former teacher, decided to run instead of her husband, who was a blogger and who was imprisoned at that moment already. So she basically went to the election committee and said, I'm gonna run instead of him because I love him, because I just think that that's my duty to do that. She was scared, but the remnants of the campaigns of the imprisoned and exiled candidates gathered around her. And she was registered as a presidential candidate because Lukashenko did not consider her as a rival. That's what happened, yeah.
And the person that you're speaking about there is Svetlana Tikhanovskaya.
That's exactly what
I hope I
got
nailed that pronunciation. I've been trying to pronounce it for half an hour.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
And about her, has there been a personal connection with her? Because she is a mother, and even though she has no political experience, it doesn't feel like too many leaders actually have experience in the field of politics. But what was special about her that people felt connected to her, that she could maybe topple Lukashenko?
She was the only basically leader who was not Lukashenko. Yes, there were nominally a few other people, but history showed that people knew that they couldn't trust the other candidates because they were pro-government, or they did not show themselves in a good light before in the previous times. So she was a new face, and she was the only one remaining out of jail. And but she was a woman, and the president said that, I mean, the Lukashenko, the current, he still has his presidential powers intact because they end in November. She said, well, a woman cannot rule the country. A woman cannot become president. And that's not the female's job. So he thought that people would not gather around her, and then that she would not have a chance. But because she was the only one, and people were not satisfied at that time already, and they already kind of, were moving after this coronavirus. Grassroots movements was already ongoing. People were kind of gathering already around other candidates who he already imprisoned. So they all gathered around her.
So we're gonna throw out some names here that I've been practicing as well. So we've got,
Yeah. Sorry, I should, I guess, yes.
No pressure, Nathan.
To challenge Lukashenko, there were all these opposition candidates such as, Sergei Tikhanovskaya, we've got Viktor Babariko, and we've got Valery Tsepkalo as the three main ones. And however, they were all persecuted in some way and couldn't stand as opposition leaders anymore. And in their place, the three women came up that are closely linked to these respective campaigns. You've got, as we said, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, we've got Maria Kalesnikova, and Veronika Tsepkalo. And so, we've got these Maria and Veronika uniting behind Svetlana, and it seems to be a kind of movement in terms of gender. Can you tell us about the role gender has played in the Belarusian protests?
Yes, gender has played an immense role. So first it started with women running for presidency, essentially. So because Svetlana had no experience, no political experience, and she said that I'm not a leader. She was saying that I would rather be home with my kids, but I'm doing it because people are gathering around me. And I don't want to be a president. I'm just here for us to bring an opportunity for fair elections. So to strengthen her, as Nathan just said, Veronika Tsepkalo, a wife of exiled candidate, and Maria Kalesnikova, who was the head of the campaign of Viktor Babarika, the banker who was imprisoned. They gathered together, and there were three female faces, campaign, running, organizing the meetings with the potential voters, and that's where women started. But they didn't go anywhere. It strengthened even after the election. So after the election, the Lukashenko claimed 80% of the vote, and people were not satisfied because they were gathering around Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. But Lukashenko claimed more than people believed he should have, and they came out to protest. And he brutally beaten a lot of people, arrested 7,000 people. The United Nations currently has at least 450 cases of torture, including rape, of both males and females. During these 3 days of violence, when the law enforcement were using water cannons, flash grenades, and just grabbing random people outside and beating them in the detention centers. So when people started being a little bit, pessimistic about the win, women reappeared, going back to gender. I'm still on the question, trust
yes.
me. So women appeared, about 200 women holding hands and wearing white clothes, appeared against of violence, which gave hope to the protests. So, and right now, every Saturday, the day before yesterday, on Saturday, it was a second women's march, when thousands of women gather and protest against violence, and that's becoming a pattern of the protests these days. And women protect males with their bodies when because there is no order, there has not been, I mean, maybe it's going to be coming, the order to detain women. So normally law enforcement are detaining men, arresting men. So women are standing in front and protecting them. So women is kind of, important part there.
I've almost heard about these protests and it being described as a slipper revolution. So is Belarus essentially trying to find their Cinderella for power?
What does it mean?
Cinderella the fairy tale. So they've got the missing slipper and they're trying to see who fits the slipper.
I see. No. But this is.
I'm sorry, my jokes are so bad.
Yeah, no, I know the fairy tale.
Yeah.
The fairy tale. Okay, so, but basically, it's not that. And it's not called a sleeper revolution right now because these days it's kind of people are debating with the name. It can be called white revolution, can be called because women are wearing white. It can be called flower revolution because women are holding flowers normally as well. But sleeper was when right before the vote. So the blogger, the husband of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, before he was imprisoned, called Lukashenko. I think it was he who did that. He called Lukashenko as a cockroach, which he is surviving. You cannot kill him. Basically, you cannot remove him. Like a cockroach who has been in power for 26 years. So you need to kind of basically grab a sleeper. Not a beautiful shoe you're referring, That's a shoe to me, when you go and shop for shoes. But a sleeper, like which you're wearing around the house, and basically kill the cockroach with a sleeper. That's where the sleeper revolution came. But it's kind of used less, even though when you observe the protests, people still on their posters, they can paint cockroaches and sleepers, and you can still see the references.
When I think of women wearing white, I remember in the UK where they had the women's suffrage movement in the early 1900s, where they would wear white because when the newspapers would take pictures of the women protesting, the white would really stand out against the black and white photography. And so I thought that was very innovative. Is there, women wearing white, carrying flowers, is this part of any protest innovations in Belarus?
Does Lukashenko have hay fever? No.
Well, women are wearing white because white symbolizes peace, peace, and the protests are peaceful. There is no violence. For you to basically to imagine, guess what they do when they protest and if they want to stand on the bench? Guess what they are doing? They are taking off their shoes and they stand on benches. They clean trash after themselves. They basically go protest and then they go and grab the garbage bags, gather all that and clean their spaces. They do not step on, how they call the grass or flowers that make the the outside beautiful. That's what the protests look like. And the white is peace and peaceful revolution there. But innovations happening every day, and which is a good thing based on the political, theory of social movements. You need innovations for the movement to be sustained. So also, like in terms of innovations, for example, you can hear people singing Belarusian songs and anthems in subways, for example. They sing also songs in the malls. You can just go and there can be a flash mob they're singing. Or people embraced the historic white, red, white flag as a protest against the official green and red flag of Belarus. So people are basically showing that we are against the regime and we want to stand under the historic flag, and we do not want to recognize the official green and red because that flag represents violence. A lot of, at least 6 people were killed under the official flag. So innovation, again, still keeping the question in my head. So basically, people are putting the flags, they are very long. For example, imagine the building that is 25 stories high. And the flag can be from the 25th to the 1st.
Wow.
Such long flag can be on a building. And these flags will be on several buildings in a row. And however, still kind of going to the answering the questions, the government doesn't want to show any weakness and removing the flags and symbols, and so they are kind of imposing the green and red one. So, for example, when the authorities are removing that flag from the building, what people did to make it harder for the law enforcement to remove it again, they cut small ribbons in color of the flag and tie ribbons. So this long building, again, 25 stories, each balcony has ribbons as a flag. So now it's not like you just grab the flag and take it off, right? Now you need to cut every stair.
Wow.
That's
so much. That's a lot of work.
That's a lot. That's exactly what they're trying to.
When I look at the historical white flag of Belarus compared to the official one, I just feel that the official one looks very beautiful, but unfortunately, it's not a very beautiful regime.
Well, the red and green flag represents the Soviet times. It was adopted in the 50s, I think it's 1951, and that was the Soviet Union already. And but the white flag was, came into existence in 1917, so it's older. It was before the Soviet Union was created. And sometimes there are even stories like fairy tales going to Reese, like here's a fairy tale for you, like a myth,
I'm listening.
Yeah, he likes it. It looks like he likes fairy tales. So basically, imagine there was a knight defending the land, and he was wounded, and he had like this, white ribbon on the head, right? And he was wounded, and how it's called, the
bandana.
White, what do I say? Not bandana, but when you are wounded.
I'm no good at charades.
The bandage, like around the head?
The bandage, yes.
Yeah.
They put the bandage on the head, but then because the guy is wounded, the blood comes through and creates the red line. Basically, you have white, red, white on the head. That's but that's a myth, right? So basically, it came into existence much earlier than the green and red flag. And it is a historic flag. And after the Soviet Union collapsed and Belarus became independent, for the first several years before Lukashenko, came to power and changed the flag, Belarus did have white and red, white flag, even in the 90s. So, but Lukashenko decided, let's go back to the Soviet flag. Let's just remove a little bit of embroidery from the Soviet green and red and adopt it because people had some nostalgia for the Soviet Union right after it collapsed.
I can't wait to one day, Nathan and I, head to Florida and you can teach Nathan and I some patriotic Belarusian songs. I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
we might be on The Voice.
Yeah, I will send you the link after the podcast. So you'll adopt it at the beginning, you can turn it on. So that's what you should be expecting.
Beautiful. I can't wait to party as if we're in Minsk in these crazy times. When you're speaking about technology importance, should people realize when they send a text, or in Nathan's case, because he's pretty old, a telegram of the Belarusian emoji? What's special about the emoji of the Belarusian flag, and does it change?
So it's very important to understand that we are talking about the protests in nowadays, these days, and we are pretty savvy with technology. And maybe we can talk later about the Belarus being the Silicon Valley of Eastern Europe as well. I mean, I hope that sustains, and I'll tell you, I will explain why I am, doubting. When the government was beating people and hitting them with water cannons and, shooting rubber bullets in them, they also turned off the internet. So there was internet blackout for, I think, maybe 2 days or 3 days, because the beatings were lasting for 3 days. So it was impossible for people to get online. And actually, some of the websites were banned or were not available. My mom told me, since March, because the president didn't want people to know about the coronavirus. So he basically hit the blackout, but because we are all about technology. There is the guy and the team, and all of them are called Nechta. Nechta translates as somebody, like someone, somebody. So he was, forced to leave Belarus for the movie, not that long ago. And he's in Poland, and he is operating through Telegram, which is Telegram app, which you cannot block. And Telegram came out to the news when people are talking about digital authoritarianism in Russia. So when the Russian government tried to block it and failed, basically. So Telegram, and before even the elections, the Telegram was on people's minds and they were joining it. So it was not a new thing already. It was like for the spring, summer, people already joined Telegram. During that grassroots movements, fundraising, supporting doctors, protecting themselves on their own from the virus. So basically what happened, Telegram, our friends from Poland, Belarusian, they were giving people instructions how to download VPNs to be able to access websites, and people are sending to the bot that they are operating the videos that they record, so everybody knows what's going on every day. So you and me, if you have a smartphone, you can record the video very easily and you can send it. It's not like, selective. Everybody can do it. You can send it to that specific address and everybody will see your video. So they are filtering, so it's not a fake video, because sometimes they are provocations, and we have a lot of actors in the game for provocation, so it's expected. And they are filtering the videos, and they post that constantly on Telegram, and people are aware of the beatings, of tortures, of what's going on, of where to go, and bypassing the blackout, basically. But I mean, go into the Telegram, so how they support it also, the emoji thing. So for example, what you can do, right now is same as you send a text on your phone, you can basically go to Telegram if I want to send a text to Reese or to Nathan, and I click on Belarusian flag, which is red and green, it will come out as white, red, white flag. So the Telegram founders, they support, and that's kind of that's only is happening on Telegram, and people are asking, why can't I do it on Facebook? So yes, and I answer that, and I answer to the comments and say, yeah, you're not the only one who's wondering, basically. So, but that's cool.
No, I think it's very cool. I actually downloaded Telegram and I joined the Nexta Live. I can't say it in Belarusian, but on the English text it says Nexta Live, and it's incredible to see all the videos where, like I said, people sending in and just the brutality that is going on. And I also tested the emoji, where it's also quite special because when you send the Belarusian flag, it comes up and replaced by the white, red, white flag, and it's bigger as well, and it's animated, and so it's very cool to see that as well.
The world learned about Belarus, well, unfortunately in that light, right? But still everybody knows what Belarus is. Well, my students know anyway, they don't have a choice. But I mean, now everybody does, right?
No, we know Victoria Azarenka. That's how we know Belarus. The first one that comes to mind.
And Tatsiana.
These days, yes. Yeah. Well, and Victoria Azarenka, everybody is what sports?
Tennis,
yes. So just for our listeners, right? So
yes.
Big tennis. Well, we have big names in biathlon as well. If biathlon, you know biathlon.
What's biathlon? Biathlon.
Olympic biathlon.
Oh, biathlon.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
When they're skiing and shooting the targets.
Yes.
You know, like they are racing, skiing, racing, and they shoot targets like Bjorn Dalen in Norwegian Star. I mean, never mind.
we have even seen snow. We're from Australia, Tatsiana.
Yeah, I am in Florida, for God's sakes. Okay.
Well, all the targets now will be Lukashenko's face, so now they'll aim right in the middle.
Yeah.
Nathan does speak about how much we love Azarenka, but what has been the role of athletes and celebrities in the protests? Have they been vocal against the Lukashenko regime?
Yeah, so for example, it's not just Victoria Azarenka who is not, in sports anymore, I think, right?
She's still there. No, she's in the US Open.
Oh no! You've exposed yourself here.
That's good. All right. So, but also we have Alexandra Hirasimena. She is a swimmer. She's Olympic medal winner in swimming in the pool, like Phelps, for example. Yeah. She has less medals, but so everybody understands. Michael Phelps.
Phelps is not probably the good comparison.
Yeah.
Well, he is. He won a lot, so he is.
Everyone looks bad compared to Michael Phelps.
You cannot discard that. His sports achievements. Yeah, it's like.
Yeah.
Let's leave his outside the pool stuff.
Yeah. So, for example, she is Olympic medal winner, and a lot of other, sportsmen who are European champions or world champions. They created this sports association. How it's called, like sport. I don't remember the name exactly, but they gathered in a sports association, let's call it, and they together expressed their that they disagree with violence and that it's supposed to stop, and that's not okay what's going on in the country right now. So yes, we hear sportsmen, yes we do, and we hear not just sportsmen, we hear a lot of sectors. We hear let's say medical workers, we hear for example the theater, not the cinema, like the play where you see the plays.
Broadway.
Like
you won't see Cinderella.
Like again, yes.
Or Hamilton, or Hamilton.
Or Hamilton, but it's not. It's less Broadway. Broadway is when you sing, right? Sing
okay,
and dance.
So it's like
this one is more
real
like
life
play.
Acting.
Yes, real life acting. The theater, for example, well known, supposed to celebrate 100 years this year anniversary, and all of them voluntarily left their jobs because they disagree with what government has been doing. So these people also, like the teachers, also students, workers, and all of them all of them are vocal about their that they disagree, that's not okay, and that's basically what I'm trying to say. It's spread out to different sectors, and it's spread out to different ages. And everybody in the country is against it. Not everybody, a lot of people, majority I would say, is against it. Still, there are people who are come forcefully in many cases to protest in support of the President Lukashenko, but you saw that hundreds of thousands of people go outside, and this is that they are not limited to young people or old people or retired or medical or sports or any other sector.
I would think that you have all these people protesting against Lukashenko across so many sectors and different kinds of areas of life, but since Lukashenko he's in economic trouble, he needs money, and I think Belarus is known as the Silicon Valley of Eastern Europe, and I guess such a this sector would be so important to him, and he might find the next Apple or Tesla in Silicon Valley, in his Silicon Valley. Has this affected the Silicon Valley of Eastern Europe as well?
Yes, thank you for the question. That's very much so. And the high technology park, that's where all that's happening, all these innovations, all the companies, IT companies are gathered. And they also voiced that they are, again, also against the violence, against all of that, stuff happening in Belarus, and that they are against the regime and supporting the opposition. For example, one company created, it's called Panda Dog, and it created the fund which tells the law enforcement that they would support, that they will be supported if they defect from the government. So if you are a police officer or if you are from the special forces and you say, I want to leave, I don't want to beat people or torture them. And if they, normally they have huge contracts, they have to pay the money back to the government. If they break the contract, thousands of dollars, they would be supported financially. If that's the reason why they are staying, for example, financial reasons. So what happened? The founders of this company are located in the United States right now. They travel a lot, but at the moment they are here. And last week, government came to the company in Minsk and arrested 4 people. And they are sitting, they got 10 days and nights in prison, and they are right now there. And all IT sector, expressed solidarity, went out for protests. And that's a big, sign that even if you are not violating anything, you are vulnerable for the government, that they can come and arrest you randomly. Even before that, the IT sector was also, expressing their solidarity with the protests. Many people were coming out, but the idea is this: if IT people can be arrested, then their clients who are ordering products started to worry whether the IT people will be fulfilling their orders, whether they will be receiving their whether they will be able to work. So the investment climate is being hurt. It's dangerous to invest. So, and at the same time, IT people they are very creative minds, if you would agree with me. They are creating new stuff all the time, right? And it's hard to concentrate if this kind of stuff going on in the country. They are afraid, they are, it's in their hearts, and it's hard to focus on work. So many companies started relocating to the neighboring countries, like, for example, Latvia, Ukraine, Lithuania, the bordering countries. They offered support to IT companies, and they are giving them, simplified ways to relocate so they can be protected. And they are saying that we will return if the situation changes, but they are not they can just stand up and leave. They are not how it's called, it's not that difficult for them to stand up and leave the country, to relocate. So normally IT sector, if I'm correct, it contributes 7.5% of the GDP to the country. maybe more, because it was 2019, I think. Like now it's about 8, and it's growing. It was growing. So that was an alternative way for Belarus to kind of do something, because it's the only sector that has been kind of, liberalized. Everything else is state owned, and that's unfortunate, and that's going to be hurting the economy, because IT people, besides leaving their business, besides relocating their business, guess what? They also buy apartments, they spend money they earn on food, on everything, and that they will not be doing as well. So the economy, for that reason, it will be hurting even more, because right now people are still kind of hoping and waiting, maybe something changes, and maybe, wait until the end, to leave, even though some companies already left, and a lot of companies exploring how to leave the country. But besides that, the economy is hurting because people do not trust the government, and people went and started buying dollars from the government, meaning the ruble, Belarusian ruble, started being devalued.
The ruble's in the rubble.
Rubble. I don't know how you pronounce it. Ruble, rubble.
No, the ruble is in the rubble.
Ruble in the rubble. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. But
that was horrific, Nathan.
He's trying, and I'm playing along here.
You're a tough crowd, Tatsiana.
And we are not even trying here,
No wonder Belarusian countries are leaving. Belarusian companies are leaving after that comment.
No, they are leaving because they would love the jokes. They all have good, awesome sense of humor. That's what I know. Well, and that's basically, the economy is already hurting. And the economy will be hurting even more, because it takes a little bit of time as well. And right now, even if someone is doubting whether protests will fade or not, normally, I would say, in many cases, people, when they are angered with the inability to get their pensions or money, salaries, they also come out. So that's going to provide another spark, I guess, for people to continue protesting.
What other industries have been affected from the regime specifically? We know how much the tech industry is under pressure at the moment, but to the people who are working in Minsk and other cities in Belarus, are they feeling the real suppression of Lukashenko?
What do you mean? Like, for example, there were strikes. Belarus is also known for the, how is it called in English? It's Belarus Kali. We need how it's called in English?
I only know Niekta, so I can't help you here.
Niekta, yes, I know that you only know Niekta. Yes. Oh, come on. Yes, so basically the factories, I'm gonna find it. The factory started striking, but the overall strike around the country didn't happen, because the government has been pressuring workers to go back to work, because he was saying, like, if you don't come, you're fired. So what's been happening these days is something like Italian strike. Do you know what Italian strike is?
I don't know what an Italian strike is.
So Italian strike is when people go to work and they don't work. Basically, in a simple term, they go to work and they pretend they kind of,
I thought that's just a regular day at work.
They are doing, for many people, I guess. Yes. Well, basically they are doing everything not to to drag their feet, to just do anything but do the job slowly.
So unfortunate for the Italians to be known with that strike.
That's unfortunate, yeah.
Good we're not doing Italian politics next week.
But we're talking about, other countries like, not Italy is a bit too far, but you talk about Poland and Latvia and Lithuania and all these neighboring countries. How are they feeling and how are they, dealing with this protest and people, some people moving, escaping from Belarus?
So immediate neighbors, for example, when after the vote, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya was forced to leave the country, and right now she is located in Lithuania, in Vilnius, and which is across the border. It's about, again, 4 hours by train, and that's where the country is, from Minsk, from the center of Belarus. And that's where she is right now. And recently, Belarusians started creating this coordinating council, starting to kind of basically bureaucratize the movement, to be able to conduct dialogue with the government, which has not been successful so far. But the fact that the coordinating council had heads, like presidium, like the body of 7 people who were representing this council, they are slowly being forced out of the country. So yesterday, for example, one female, Olga Kovalkova, was basically moved by car, by law enforcement, to Poland. So they are forcing them across the border. And Lithuania and Poland specifically have been very, very supportive and very vocal for sanctions against the regime and against Lukashenko personally. However, the European Union itself, they impose sanctions together. In many cases, Germany and France and Italy, they are for sanctions, but against the sanctions against President Lukashenko, because they don't want to cut the opportunity for talks, with him. While the immediate neighbors were supportive, and even Czech Republic, that doesn't border Belarus, also issued financial support for the people who suffered. Poland, for example, said that we will be also accommodating people who suffered in Poland. Lithuania also said that we will be accepting students and everybody who wants to relocate. So in that sense, they have been very, very supportive. But Belarus and the European Union, they do not have this partnership and cooperation and partnership agreement. They're trying to do as much as they can, even though some people are saying they could be more aggressive, but they have been supportive. They have been, because why they cannot do much, because Russia is on the other side as well. So it's all kinds of relationships with the neighboring countries here come in play.
I found it quite surprising Poland was supportive, considering that, their government is becoming kind of less and less democratic in a way, and they are still, supportive. I find it a bit weird.
But they are immediate neighbor. And because, would you like your neighbor to be nice or not nice? Like if you live in a house or in an apartment, what kind of neighbor do you
Nathan lives next to an old lady and she is lovely.
Oh, see, you want the lady to be lovely or become, suddenly become angry and not nice. You would like her to be lovely, right?
Yes.
So that's why it matters what kind of neighbor do you have, right? So that's why they are immediate neighbors. They prefer, the cooperative neighbor, cooperative government. Yes, I understand, but still, when we're talking Poland, when we are talking Hungary, which is even worse than Poland these days, they are still in the European Union, and they are not leaving it,
Is this kind of a vote of kind of no approval, a vote of kind of no confidence for Lukashenko? Because, we talk about Poland being nice to their neighbors. When I think about that, I think about how they would be nice for Lukashenko because Lukashenko is running the country. But if they're being nice, to the protesters, that kind of feels like they're kind of supporting the protesters rather than supporting Lukashenko.
But yes, because the protests, that's what is better for them. They're betting for the protests because they, as a part of the European Union, they cannot be silent and do not express any dissatisfaction with tortures. People were killed in Belarus. 6 people were buried. And a few people, I think there's still a few people, not maybe a few, it's kind of, I apologize for everybody. There are still missing people in Belarus. And the longer they are missing, the longer, the worse, the feeling about the prospects for these people. So would you say, yeah, that's fine? Or, Lukashenko, you are a good guy, or you will condemn as a part of the European Union. You kind of, that's not okay.
Definitely isn't okay. And I find it interesting as well with the bad brothers that Belarus has surrounding them with Ukraine and Russia. And is it almost an example of Belarus with their older brother in Ukraine having the situation in 2014 with their president Yanukovych being overthrown by the people? Could this be a little recipe for success for the Belarusian people?
Well, Yanukovych, right? Well,
I was so close yet so far.
Another tongue twister there.
Yeah. Well, Ukraine has been very supportive, actually. Ukraine said that we are not going to be having any contacts with the government these days. Because we are not approve of all the violence, and you could see Belarusian flags displayed in the council, in the parliament there. They expressed support. Same as Lithuania and Poland. They even showing the symbols of the protests on their buildings. So Ukraine has been supportive. Ukraine is is on the path. They had their share in 2014. They understand that it is hard and it's not okay when you have an authoritarian government. So in that sense, you cannot say anything bad about Ukraine. Ukraine was great, it's more about Russia here, which recognized the presidential election in Belarus, because many countries did not recognize the election as fair. So Russia did recognize, but then Russia and Ukraine, these are two different actors here, two different attitudes. And no one is kind of saying anything better about Ukraine these days. They are very supportive. And the scenario, Ukraine, Belarus, Belarus has been peaceful. Belarusians do not want violence. They are trying to kind of, sustain this peaceful protest. Also, Belarus is not divided. Ukraine is divided, Eastern and Western Ukraine, where Russia can claim that eastern part or Crimea, as history showed, that they wanted it. Because there are a lot of Russian-speaking people, they wanted it, that's what's the excuse. And they want to leave Ukraine. They don't want to be part of Ukraine. That's not the case in Belarus. Belarus is smaller and it's more unified. Even though, there are many signs that different forces wants to divide it, but it has not been successful. So Belarus is not against Russia. It's not against European Union or pro-EU or pro-Russia at the moment. It is against the government. So the flags, we don't see Russian flags. We don't see European Union flags there. There are only white, red, white flags. The only kind of sporadic, one flag, Russian flag was there, one EU flag there. But overall, it's an internal conflict.
Thanks for being your Victoria Azarenka with a forehand down the line with my bad question that Ukraine was bad. Thanks for that. I didn't realize. I've also read with Russia that Putin had the idea that he wanted to create a unified state between Russia and Belarus. Could this be another Crimea situation where Russia just annexes Belarus? Is there any chance, or is that just hypocrisy or something out of this world? I'm looking for words here. Sorry, Dave.
No, here it's fine. I mean, don't worry about it. So I'm gonna answer. So, Union State was created when Yeltsin was in power. Before Putin.
Boris.
With Boris. Yes, Boris was a weak president, and Lukashenko wanted to be the leader of the unified state. He wanted to get to Kremlin, and that didn't happen when Putin came to power. So guess my question to you is, do you think Putin and Lukashenko like each other? They don't. I mean, like they are neighboring countries. They are kind of brotherly love and all that, right? But Putin stole Lukashenko's dream to go to Kremlin and rule the unified state, in 2000. So basically, the Union State supposed to be kind of one thing. But when Putin came to power, Lukashenko lost his opportunity. He lost this chance and swept the Union State documents under the rug. It existed since then, all these kind of documents. And then up until recently, it was dead. It was there, but it was dead, And Lukashenko has been receiving cheap gas from Russia and oil all the time for all these years. Cheap. That's how Lukashenko had an opportunity not to reform the economy, because he had that, thing going on. But Russia changed their mind and said, that's gonna stop. Eventually you'll pay world prices as everybody else. If you want cheap, join in Union State. And now, but I mean, if you are Lukashenko, would you like to join?
No, the plans kind of backfired here. Before he was like, yes, we are a united people, Belarus and Russia together in 2000. But then after that, he's kind of like, no, we are our own sovereign.
But why not? But then why not? Why wouldn't you?
He would lose power because he would kind of be absorbed by the bigger bear of Russia.
Exactly. That's my point. So he is president. Who will he be in the Union State? Who? Some kind of somebody there. They will offer him some kind of post or what? No, he likes power. You get power. That's it. You hold it pretty much. And that's when he started talking to the West, kind of liberalizing the relationship, with the West, unfreezing the relationship with the United States. That's when Mike Pompeo came in February to Belarus, this February, 2020, a few months ago.
After 12 years, after the ties
after 12 years, yes.
After broken. I read your pieces here, Tatsiana.
Good job. Well, 12 years. So Mike Pompeo came, West was looking favorably, but now any chances with the West are gone after the tortures. That's it. That direction is gone. Protests are going in the country. People express that they don't like him. So what he doesn't have another choice but go and ask for help from Russia. And Russia wants him weak. They want the Union State. They want Belarus in their sphere of influence. But at the same time, Belarusians are not against Russia. But they can be if Russia decides to take over. They already embraced a flag. They are not like Ukrainian people. You can claim they want it. Belarusians are showing that they don't want it, that they are not Russians. And at the moment, they are still not against Russia, but they can be. So that basically creates this pat situation like chess, where every move is bad, basically. So Lukashenko, pretends and talks all kinds of nonsense. Like the other day, he said, Russian officials started visiting Belarus, showing support. And Lukashenko said, listen, guys, I intercepted the talk between Warsaw and Germany, Poland and Germany. They are saying that Alexei Navalny, who is the opposition leader in Russia, who was poisoned. And today he woke up from coma.
Fantastic news.
Today. Yes.
Oh,
yes,
that's an exclusive on the podcast?
No, it's everybody knows it.
Okay.
Sorry. But it is like new news, right? It's very recent. So he said, well, I know Germany, like this talk says, like Germany reports to Poland, which is nonsense. Germany is more important, Germany represents European Union, not Poland, So, but also the nonsense conversation, everybody's laughing, Russia doesn't want to comment. But what Lukashenko is doing is he's showing that he can be useful to Russia. He tries to strengthen his hand in the conversation that is going to happen in a few days. Both Lukashenko and Putin will come, and everybody is waiting what's going to happen. But because Lukashenko has this personality, difficult personality, he doesn't want to lose power. He needs money. He will be begging for money. But Russia is like, people in Russia do not like the idea, like to give money and get nothing, because Lukashenko lost all kinds of credibility long time ago, and this kind of thing showed that he can basically promise and say, oh guys, you didn't understand me right, that's not what I meant. They give him money, he said no, I'll keep it, basically. So we'll see. But I mean, the idea, basically, some people are saying that and I kind of, I'm leaning to that idea that there might be nothing specific out of this conversation or meeting will come out, but Russia will promise support to Lukashenko, but he is not ideal for them as well these days.
Well, people say, geopolitics and politics is boring, but this is like a soap opera. You've got Lukashenko, who's like a bad debtor who, just gambles everything away. But moving forward, and you see all the support from, Poland and all the neighboring countries, the wave of protests, the innovations, the technology. Is there anything that gives you a sense of hope or confidence with the movement going forward?
So a few things. Belarus woken up. Belarusian people have been suppressed for 26 years, quarter of a century. There are young people who don't know anybody else. Imagine you are 24. That's like, he has ruled for 26 already. So, and these people decided that they want a different country, and the masses of people embraced a different flag, and I would say a nation is born already. There is no way back, and many people are inspired by their neighbors and by looking at each other. At the same time, for the social movement to succeed, the movement must kind of, go through 4 stages. All right. So, for example, the first stage is emergence of the movement. So the movement emerged already in Belarus. The second is called coalescence, meaning when people become aware of each other. And that also happened because people go outside and they see each other, and they come with flags, they gather in their, neighborhoods and sing songs and all that. And that's already happened. But now the movement must carry out their goals. And their goals is to replace the current regime and free political prisoners and economic prisoners, and basically an opportunity for new elections, new free elections, and basically, and obviously punish everybody who is responsible for tortures, because up to today, no criminal cases were started. So everything the law enforcement has been doing went unpunished. So right now, the third stage, to gain political power through bureaucratization, meaning the government must kind of create these structures that would represent the people and get that dialogue happening, to legally organize the transfer of power, maybe kind of create a way for Lukashenko to leave legally, some kind of push, some kind of move, gain political power to not to disappoint people. That's what I mean. So right now, that's where the movement is. And everybody's hoping that the sustained movements will give a chance for creation of these structures that can represent the people, that are recognized by the other governments, because Russia is in play and they are not recognizing as they do not see people in this coordinating council as people they want to talk with. So I hope the movement is not stuck there. And even if it's stuck, I hope there is not hope. I know that there is still time. People are not giving up, and there is no way back, basically. That's where we are. I am hopeful. I think we will still be seeing, developments and interesting things happening in Belarus.
A massive chat. Thank you so much, Tatsiana, for speaking with us about Belarus. I feel like we have such a good understanding of what's going on. I think our listeners will too. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
At all, and I hope you keep following. Don't delete Nechta from your Telegram.
No, we'll have you on again when there's more developments to update us.
Of course, I'll be happy to. Yes.
Thank you for listening to the Glad You Knew Politics podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating and a review on what you thought about this week's episode, and any other questions you might have or issues you would like us to cover in future episodes. You can keep up to date with us and the podcast by following us at Glad You Knew on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Links are in the description below.